Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett didn't preach free speech that day. She muttered a cold, quiet rebuke caught by a hot mic in the chaos. You don't get to slap a reporter in the hallway and call it liberation. It wasn't scripted, wasn't a headline, but somehow it captured everything. This wasn't just another partisan spat. It was the moment the mask slipped, raw and unfiltered. Last week, in a dimly lit hallway just outside the Capitol's press wing, something happened. Something unscripted, inevitable, and telling. Crockett, the firebrand Democrat from Texas, known for viral outbursts and curated outrage, didn't lash out at a lawmaker or a protester. She targeted a journalist, an independent reporter, unaffiliated, unfiltered, and uncontrolled. He'd asked one question: Congresswoman, any regrets about your language at last week's hearing? Some call it unprofessional. What followed wasn't words but motion. The video lasted less than 7 seconds. A flash of fury, an arm swinging, the impact, then stunned silence as the reporter hit the floor. Crockett stormed off, her heels clicking like a metronome of defiance. Off camera, a voice whispered, "Did she just slap him?" By the time the clip hit social media, the damage was done. Spin machines roared to life. Half the country screamed assault, the other half cried smear. An MSNBC anchor called it a reflexive gesture of fatigue, but America saw it, and the internet never forgets. The timing was suspiciously convenient. NPR and PBS were already under fire. Leaked documents from both networks revealed editorial tampering, softened language, shifted headlines, bent facts on border policy, classified intel, and the George Floyd narrative. Headlines piled up: NPR accused of sanitizing DHS leak, PBS emails show political coordination. Hashtags like "You are defund fake media" and state-run spin erupted. At a press conference, Tom Homan didn't mince words. Why are taxpayers funding a propaganda machine? These aren't public broadcasters. They're Democrat megaphones with a velvet filter. Within hours, a proposal to slash public broadcasting funds hit the House floor. Then came the ethics complaint filed by the assaulted journalist. It wasn't just paperwork. It was a statement, wielding terms like intimidation, abuse of power, and threat to First Amendment protections. The reporter later live-streamed, voice steady, "I didn't want this route, but when a congresswoman hits you and walks around with Capitol Police like she's the victim, what message does that send?" The House, caught between firestorms, did what it does best: staged a hearing. Titled "Freedom of Speech and the Role of Public Media in a Modern Democracy," it promised a public spectacle. On one side, Jasmine Crockett, defiant and unapologetic. On the other, Tom Homan, former ICE director, a combat-tested debater known for dismantling fragile arguments with surgical precision. The stakes were sky high. This wasn't just about media bias or funding. It was about free speech as a shield for authoritarianism and what happens when someone calls the bluff. Inside a curtained DC backroom, Crockett sat with consultants who looked more like Instagram managers than strategists. Their advice was sharp. Own it, stay strong, lean into the rage. The media storm is your surfboard. Ride it. Crockett nodded, eyes fierce with theatrical defiance. "I'm not just defending me," she declared, each word pre-calculated to sound spontaneous. "I'm defending every woman who raised her voice and got called aggressive." In the progressive playbook, accountability was optional, but victimhood was currency, and she was cashing in fast. Meanwhile, across the aisle, a quieter scene unfolded. Behind a closed office door, No cameras or theatrics. Tom Homan's name slid across the table like a dossier. A man who made border hawks proud and open border activists squirm. He'd retired to fishing and peace until Crockett's stunt hit his inbox. She hit a reporter? He asked, voice low. And they're sending her to speak on free speech? A long pause. All right, if no one else will challenge this circus, I will. Newsrooms lit up, anchors purring with anticipation. Two titans set to clash. One had rehearsed punchlines, the other had stared down cartel lawyers without blinking. This wasn't just a hearing, it was a countdown, an exorcism of nonsense long overdue. The hearing room felt like a gladiatorial arena. Polished wood, overused microphones, and the scent of old sweat and newer lies. It was packed with press and onlookers craving political combustion. Cameras perched like vultures, every seat filled, every whisper recorded. Crockett entered like she was headlining a Netflix special, glowing, immaculate, flanked by advisors doubling as image consultants. Her smile said, "I'm not on trial," but her darting eyes betrayed the truth. Tom Homan walked in alone, no entourage, his granite expression unmoved by the circus. He didn't smile. He didn't need to. The chairwoman hammered the gavel. This hearing addresses the integrity of public media and the boundaries of free expression. We're not here to litigate personal conduct. Crockett requested to start. She stood, adjusted her blazer with practiced grace, and leaned into the mic. Madam Chair, fellow members, and all watching this nation, let me be clear. What happened in that hallway has been twisted beyond recognition. That man isn't a dispassionate journalist. He's an agitator, a partisan disruptor tied to extremist outlets, silencing women and people of color. I was provoked, hunted, and now defending myself is an ethics violation? This is a coordinated smear, part of a campaign to dismantle PBS and NPR. The only media brave enough to report on structural racism, inequality, and demagogues wearing patriotism like a costume. This isn't about a hallway, it's about control over whose voices are heard. Applause trickled from her staffers. Holman leaned forward, voice quiet and dangerous. So we're starting with fiction. Tension rippled like a breeze before the thunder. Crockett sat, unfazed. Holman added, "I'll reserve my comments until the monologues are done," sparking a nervous laugh from the back. Crockett snapped back into the mic, tone sharp as glass. "Mr. Holman pretends this is noise, but public media delivered 98% of rural emergency alerts during disasters, not Fox News. During the pandemic, NPR partnered with minority clinics for life-saving info, while others peddled bleach recipes. And when George Floyd was murdered, certain outlets chose silence while Black Americans screamed for justice. The room tensed. Holman blinked, dry as stone. "I appreciate the passion, wish it extended to truth. That 98% comes from a system, not ideology. And those clinics, some push political content as health updates." He raised an eyebrow, calling her bluff without showing his hand. Crockett fired back. "Double standards? Like Trump mocking a disabled reporter with no ethics complaints? Or suggesting bleach injections?" Twitter exploded. Crockett claps back. Truth to power. Progressive bloggers hailed her as intersectional fury against the old white establishment. The chairwoman snapped, "This is a hearing, not a rally." Holman waited, letting the steam build. "Madam Chair," he said, "before interpretations, I'd like a few questions to clarify the moral terrain." He faced Crockett indirectly. If the press becomes a hammer for one ideology, is it journalism or activism with government funding? Notebooks flipped open, recorders lifted. He tapped the panel. A screen showed the 7-second clip. A reporter, a swing, a fall. I wasn't there, Homan said, but I see a man on the floor and a congresswoman walking away like she's late for brunch. Context is fair, but framing it as resistance? That's choreography, not courage. Crockett bristled. That video has no context. Holman nodded faintly. Then provide it. I'm all ears. The bait was set. She cleared her throat, edge brittle. Let's not act like Mr. Holman's past. Racial profiling accusations isn't relevant. And real threats? Where were ethics complaints when Trump mocked a reporter or pushed bleach? She flipped notes, voice rising. His own 2018 report said PBS was critical for rural alerts. Holman tilted his chin. You're using a Trump-era report after painting that government as bankrupt? Borrow from the enemy when it suits. Call it integrity. The chairwoman interjected. Keep it relevant. A staffer slipped Crockett a note. Watch tone. Too many Trump refs. A silent correction felt by every strategist. Holman straightened. Madam Chair, I'd like to submit 3 items. He slid a folder. First, the First Amendment. Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech or the press. It's not selective, doesn't shrink when inconvenient. Pence paused. He cited national scripture. Second, the ethics complaint. Verbal intimidation and physical hostility toward a credentialed reporter. When a lawmaker confronts the press, they're not defending democracy, they're dancing on its grave. A journalist muttered, damn, caught on C-SPAN. Third, he tapped the screen. Context. A clip from Crockett's live stream played. Shut down Fox. I'm tired of these white boys cornering me. He faced her. When someone challenges you, is their speech protected? Or only when it praises you? He leaned back. We don't rewrite the First Amendment for PR. Silence hit like a guillotine. As Crockett opened her mouth, Ilhan Omar cut in. Madam Chair, I recommend we suspend debate out of respect for the institution. A Democrat, not the opposition, delivered the blow. Motion accepted. 15-minute recess. The chair ruled. Cameras panned. Crockett sat stiff, glow gone. Outside, reporters chased Holman's quotes. Online, hashtag Jasmine contradictions trended. No fiery memes, just her words beside contradictions. Within 24 hours, the Ethics Committee launched an inquiry subpoenaing Crockett. Leaked. Clips surfaced. Her berating staff, rehearsing I was ambushed, strategizing victim architecture post-incident. The hearing chair closed. Given bias, funding, and conduct questions, we recommend freezing public media funds pending a transparency audit. Money stopped, masks came off. A conservative victory via receipts, not riots. Homan didn't gloat. He shook the reporter's hand. I'm just doing what's right. Online, Shern's sister girl meltdown turned bitter. CNN hedged. MSNBC cut away. Nonprofits ghosted her. In a tense caucus, a senior Democrat snapped, "You dragged media into a battle we couldn't defend," and lost. Her advisor quit. Leadership leaked. She better speak like a legislator, not a streamer. Alone in her office, Crockett watched the hearing footage, paused it mid-snarl, and set her congressional pin down. Not with tears, just gravity. Holman declined interviews, nodded once to advise GOP strategy, not with noise but restraint. A young reporter asked his take. Politics is where rage lives, he said, but reason leaves a mark. Then he walked away.